Inc. Coffee came under fire last week after photos of a sign making light of gentrification outside its Five Points location went viral. Despite public apologies from both Inc. founder Keith Herbert and its ad agency Cultivator, community members gathered in front of the shop demanding answers. Denver City Council President Albus Brooks also received backlash for supporting developers over legacy residents. Patty, the sign was offensive and they deserved criticism over the sign, but it felt like this protest was about much more than a sign. It was about everything else that's happening in the neighborhood, whether it's huge apartment buildings being built that with rental rates that I know are going to be just absolutely outlandish. What did you make of what we saw go down about this protest?
That it was definitely a slow Thanksgiving week, because if you saw it, it made The Guardian in London, made the New York Times, made the Washington Post, not normally a story they would pick up, but that it took off here wasn't surprising. Where we are in the studio is really the heart of Five Points, which was a real residential area, which has an incredible history. And you see what's happening on this street with these buildings going up that are not friendly to the street. You've lost the history. And this was truly a residential area where many people have been priced out. They're just gone. 9 blocks away from here is where that Inc. is located. And interestingly, that wasn't really a very residential area. That was always warehouses. Artists had moved in over the last 10, 15, 20 years. They're the ones who've been booted out. So what you really heard more than anything else, besides the fact that people sometimes had their history crossed, is people are upset with these monolithic apartment buildings that are coming in. The city is letting them come in. We're getting no amenities to go with them. We're getting high-priced apartments that no one can afford, unless probably they're coming in from out of state with a big salary too. I mean, huge rates for those apartments. It was the most tone-deaf ad in history. It was like an Onion ad. I wonder what would have happened if Inc. had put it outside its Bonnie Bray location, where the biggest controversy is over the fact that they keep taking the campus, they won't let the campus lounge patrons park there. I mean, Bonnie Bray has been gentrifying since I think it was founded. So it was really fascinating because people are mad, not just at the builders, but at the mayor and at city council that they aren't asking for anything apparently when these projects go in. They're not asking for storefronts, they're not asking for affordable spaces, they're not asking for parking. And so this area that had been one of the most creative, really interesting place where entrepreneurs, artists, those are the people who've been priced out of that particular block, that particular area. Here in Five Points, the real heart of Five Points, it's much worse.
David, now that we're into another news cycle, it seems that the attention, at least to the coffee shop itself, is going away. But the attention toward city officials seems to at least maybe not be growing, but sustainable. Do you think city officials are going to feel a little more heat from this, that now that people can be focused some anger?
Well, I hope so, and it's really false consciousness for them to, whoever the criminal was who vandalized the coffee shop, and for the rest of the people in that crowd with Albus Brooks protesting, that's like going to an anti-baldness protest led by John Caldera. You know, he's more the cause of the problem than the solution. The city has been when a city is prospering, there's going to be inevitable gentrification and prices are going to go up because there's only so much land. The Denver City Council and mayor, and certainly including Councilman Albus Brooks, have, besides that natural thing going on, have accelerated it substantially with all their corporate welfare giveaways, which are illegal if the Colorado Constitution were actually enforced by the courts. All these big giveaways to big business. You know, it's not Inc. Coffee that's getting the corporate welfare or any other small businesses. It's the giants in these huge projects. So we now have a situation where the neglect of the fundamental things the Denver governor should do, like repairing sidewalks, they blow that off. And so people have to set up special districts to tax themselves extra just to have functioning sidewalks. Denver's sidewalk backlog is so bad it would take the entire city budget next year just to repair the sidewalks in the city. And instead of doing things that are normal for a government, that money that should go into daily infrastructure, they throw at all these big projects and the big businesses. And if you think Albus Brooks is your leader in fighting this, you've been spun 180 degrees around from where you should be trying to pin the tail on the donkey.
Eric, I saw a commentary from Kyle Clark that was, I think, magnificent. He really encapsulated that, yes, this was an offensive sign, but developers, city officials, a lot of people get away with celebrating gentrification just by calling it a different name. And it was a lot like some of the things that you were saying on social media, which I thought were equally brilliant about saying there's much more here than what we're recognizing. Do you think the folks that are mad about this sign are going to have an anger that's going to grow because of those very same issues that this has been called a different name and celebrated different ways, but causing similar problems?
Yeah, I mean, this is a new issue we're talking about in terms of the word gentrification. I don't know that we've used that a ton of times around this table, but what we've talked about around this table is part and parcel of the same thing: congestion, growth, lack of distinction of architecture, to put it politely. I mean, just a lot of cookie-cutter apartment buildings, et cetera. And you bet that is a volatile political issue. It's a volatile political mix. I think the ink thing became a flashpoint, and flashpoints, by the very word flash, they ignite, and they have long-lasting political repercussions. I think we can stipulate, I mean, this ad agency, I have no familiarity with the ad agency. They thought they were being clever, they thought they were being cute. Lots of humor falls flat. This one fell exceptionally flat, and I assume there were a few tough conversations with that ad agency over the last few days, and fine with me. It's the pace of what is going on in Denver and the scope of it that I think is what has really gotten people riled up. But I do have a somewhat contrary view, which is everything has to have an appropriate pace, and Denver is on fire right now. But the only thing worse probably than gentrification is the lack of gentrification, in the sense of, if you show me a community that isn't growing, isn't renewing, stagnant communities are not fun places to be. My wife and I recently did a driving trip through the back roads of Appalachia, covered a couple thousand miles, and you go to a lot of those communities, and they would die for a little bit of gentrification, because one person's gentrification, quote unquote, is another person's renewal. And these are communities that are not renewing. That is not in any way to defend a lot of the undistinguished stuff that is going on in this town, and not that far from where we're sitting right now. But I do think you need a little bit of perspective to it. And it's not that everything old is good and everything new is bad, and that all growth is bad. You need communities to move forward.
Penn, you look at this, what's the right perspective that we should be having as a community moving forward beyond, we can look at the sign, but it's far bigger than this. What do we need to take away from this as we're moving forward?
You know, it is far bigger, and I think we need to take a step back, and I go to Patty's original point. I don't think the reason why this story played nationally and internationally is because it was a slow week. This situation highlights an issue in Denver, in Colorado, and nationally. It is a sense of people feeling dislocated intentionally, a sense of anomie where you don't know what the norms, what to expect, where your place is, and what appears to be a callous indifference to that situation. I'm sure the people who did the ad for Inc. thought it was something clever, something trendy, something catchy, but what it really indicates is we're here, and the place is better because we're here, and we're getting rid of you. It's a better neighborhood without you. It's a better community without you. We've done things and made it good. You're bad. Get out. You don't belong here anymore. And I think the backlash that Albus is catching, and the mayor and the administration, we have talked about this symptom before, that with the city and the state being on fire and all of this development, that what appears to be happening, or at least what people are articulating, is a sense that all of these things are happening, but they're not happening for me or with me. They're happening to me. I'm being victimized by this success, and I'm not getting anything out of it. And now you have the audacity to tell me to be happy about it because it's a good thing. It's not good for me because it's happening to me. And so at some point, the city government in particular needs to figure out how they reconnect with communities and people. Because, yeah, you can be on fire and then everybody's going to be gone. There's a reason why places that aren't growing and that have become stagnant became that way. It's because they drove the people out who made the community a vital place. Because communities are based on people. They're not based on buildings and stuff. And if you lose the people, you lose the core, you lose the soul of your community. and you're going to be depressed again before you know it.